and a good morning to each and every single one of you from the Casita Papel coffee shop. It's been a hell of a long time since I was last here. The reason for me stopping here on this ride, which will bring up my 125 miles or 200 kilometers for the week, is that when I first started out coming out for a ride, my weekly mileage would be about 24 miles for the week, which would be, no, sorry, not 24 kilometers for the week, 15 miles for the week. And it would be a ride from the town where I live through to here, stop for a coffee, and back again. This cafe is obviously a super popular stop for cyclists from all over the place. Um, but for a long time I haven't stopped here because there have been other cafes along longer rides that needed to be explored as well. But anyway, bringing it full circle back to Casita Papel simply because this is where it all started when I started trying to bash myself back into shape. Now, with the intermittent fasting and the much higher mileage this week, we'll see what the scale says at the end of the day. Excuse the background noise. It's a busy cafe on a day when cyclists are pulling in one after the other. Anyway, I'm going to get stuck into my Cafe Grande and then head back through to the office and get stuck into content production and let you in on a good couple of secrets that will help your content production move up to the next level. Till then, cheers. Hey, welcome to the follow-up. Yes, I got through the bike ride, no issues whatsoever, and what's more, showered, dressed, got into my first block of writing already. I've got about 1,660 something words knocked out of my 2,500 word target for today. So about 900 words to go to hit target. But I'm expecting for this Sunday to go well past there because I've got a number of things coming up on Monday which will be keeping me away from writing or writing big blocks of content. So I'm wanting to get a little bit ahead of the curve. And as far as the big blocks of content is concerned, that will be getting me into exactly what I'm going to be talking today. But as far as my content for today, there I've got my 10 item to-do list. And what I can already tell you is that the first two items at the top of this 10 item to-do list are already ticked off, and the last item at the bottom of the to-do list is my weigh-in that's due to be happening at 8 o'clock this evening, and we'll be seeing if the combination of 1,500, 2,000 calorie bike rides and the intermittent fasting combined together, how much of an impact that's made in just 1 week. So we'll see what's happened there. Then as far as the remaining items are concerned, I expect to get through a big chunk of those. But getting back into the process that I'm looking at as far as how I'm generating the content that I'm doing, there are two types of sitting down and doing blog content that I look at. And the most important thing that I'm wanting to talk to you about here, before we I get onto that, today's t-shirt is the 10K race that I did in Santa Fe. That's Santa Fe in Spain and not the Santa Fe in the USA, but be that as it may. What I'm wanting to talk to you about today as far as the blogging content is concerned is something called flow. In other words, getting yourself into a flow state as far as your writing is concerned. That's what I try to do when I'm doing a big block of content. I try to get myself into a flow state with my writing where I'm just typing, the thoughts are flowing, and the words are just coming out, and it's literally, sitting and typing, I can knock out probably about 1,500 words an hour when I really get into a good flow state. But now, when it comes to sitting down to write, it often takes me about 20 minutes of so-called struggle to get my brain really flowing properly and to get properly into that state of flow. So this is where I need to pick my battles really carefully. if the chunk of time that I've got available to do any writing is only about 25 minutes or so, or maybe sometimes there have been times where the amount of time that I've got, a little block of time that I've got available to be able to produce some content is only about 15 minutes. And I already know that it takes me about 20 minutes to get really into my state of flow and where I can really push out lots of content really quickly. Then if I sit down to start writing on a big chunk of content and I've only got 15 minutes available, I already know from experience that I'm going to get to that end of those 15 minutes and feel frustrated because I haven't gotten into my flow yet. I'm still struggling to get my brain focused on exactly what I wanted to do and getting the words down on the computer. And then the timer goes for the end of my 15 minutes and I might only have 150 words or something like that done, and I feel frustrated. So it's a case of picking my battles really carefully. So what I do is, if I've only got about 15 minutes or 20 minutes available in that little block to be able to produce some content, then what I'll do is I'll go to my list of topics that I haven't even started on. I've just got the headline, just the title line of what I'm wanting to write about. I'll pull one of those and I'll use those 15 minutes to 20 minutes. And all I'll do is I'll look at finding my key subheadings that I'm wanting to have for that specific blog post. So that 15-minute task is just simply, here's my headline, let me find between 5 and 10 subheadings to be able to slot onto that specific blog post, and I'll open a Google Doc with a headline at the top, and all I'll do is leave from the headline going down, leave 5 lines of empty space, put in a subheading, 5 lines of empty space, put in a subheading, and that 15-minute block of productive time, all I'm doing is creating the subheadings that I'm wanting to do on that specific blog post. That's all. And that's a battle that I can win within that 15 to 20 minutes of time frame, rather than trying to start writing a blog post and getting myself frustrated because I haven't yet gotten into flow and I'm needing to stop. So that's my first major tip that I've got for you as far as getting through massive chunks of content. It takes me 20 minutes to get into a flow state. I've got no idea how long it will be taking you. Let me know in the comments section down below, how long does it take you to get into a flow state? It takes me about 20 minutes. If I've got less than 20 minutes available, all I'm going to be looking at is structure out the subheadings that I'm wanting to use for my next new blog post, so that when I do have a big chunk of time and I can get into a state of flow, the outline of that blog post is already there, and I can just go as far as the subheadings and working my way down. So that's my big tip for at this stage of my content creation day, and I've got another tip for you when I come back a bit later after I've created the next chunk of content that I've got lined up to do. But I'll speak to you later. Stay awesome and crack on with your content. Hey, and good evening to each and every single one of you. The time has just gone 7:25 in the evening, which means I've got 35 minutes through until my way in other words, going out to go and visit a friend of mine who's got the scale that does where we will be doing the way in. And as far as my checklist is concerned, everything is ticked off except for these last two. The last item on the list is the 8 o'clock weigh-in, and the second last item on the list is editing this specific YouTube video that will be going out to you. With 35 minutes left, there's no chance that this video will be edited before I head out to the weigh-in, so which means that the edit will take place afterwards, which means maybe there might be just a little bit of footage of what will be happening in the weigh-in, but we'll wait and see what happens there. Next, very importantly, I promised you another little hot tip, as far as improving your productivity and how many words you can smash out. So we've covered flow, and now when we mentioned earlier about maybe only having 15 or 20 minutes, use that time to do a layout of a prospective blog post, and I mentioned putting that into a Google document where you put the heading at the top and 5 lines of space, subheading, 5 lines of space, another subheading, and so forth, until you've laid out your 6 to 10 subheadings that you're wanting to have in your upcoming blog post. Now, here's where the next item that comes in is, if you're out and about wherever you are, and you have the opportunity to be able to grab a 5 or 10 minutes or something like that, what you do is, unfortunately I can't show you directly because I'm recording this video on the mobile phone, but what happens is, take out your mobile phone that you've got set up, you've installed Google Documents on the mobile phone, and you link it to the same Google Documents that that you've got on your computer. You can open up that same Google document that you got with the layout of your blog post, pick one of the subheadings on that Google document, hit what they call voice typing on Google Docs, and speak into your mobile phone, and the mobile phone will then record the text within that, immediately underneath that subheading, and then if you've got time, go on to the next subheading below that and the next subheading below that. So using those little snippets of time that you have in between to voice type ideas underneath those subheadings. What this does is, when you actually sit down at your computer to start writing, as I mentioned, it takes 15 to 20 minutes to get into the flow. Use those 15 to 20 minutes to get into your writing flow, to just go through and edit and format what you've already voice typed under those first couple of subheadings. By the time you've done that, for those first 15 minutes or so, gotten through everything that you voice typed, edited it, formatted it out into the layout that you're wanting to have for your blog post, that's enough to stimulate your mind. That's what happens to me. I am able to stimulate my mind enough to be able to punch out the rest of the blog post really easily. And what I do is, I'd go through all my subheadings with all of the writing that I'm wanting to do for all my subheadings, and come back afterwards and do my introduction, for the simple reason is that my introduction can then be more concisely and clearly be an introduction to what I've already written in the balance of the article, rather than writing an introduction before I've even produced any of the rest of the content. I hope that makes sense. Those are my little hot tips as far as what I do to get into the flow of writing more quickly, and what to do when I've got small little snippets of time which aren't really sufficient to get into a proper flow of writing. Let me know what your hot tips are to be able to produce more content in a shorter space of time, and high quality content at that. Maybe there'll be an extra little clip straight after this with the results of the weigh-in, but either which way, it'll be either a directly good night now, or a little snippet that'll come in right now for the weigh-in. See you tomorrow. Cheers.